And this perhaps brings us back to this scurrilous attack on Stalin, that he was anti-Darwin and that he sent all the Darwinian scientists to the Gulag. Because you'll know from previous Stalin Society meetings and discussions that there was a big dispute in the Soviet Union on the question of inheritance, on the question of heredity. And I'm sorry I tried to do it, but I can't avoid introducing Lysenko into this particular consideration, because Lysenko was a very strong proponent of the idea that what happened to organisms during their life actually affected their heredity as well. And not everything that happened. I mean, there are some crude experiments, which I've talked about before. People have cut off tails of mice, bred from them, cut off the tails of the next generation, kept doing that and saying, look, however many times you cut off their tails, they still get tails. Well, that's very, very crude. But there are much more subtle changes that can happen. And you will know that this was a very, very long and ongoing debate that took place over a decade at least in the Soviet Union, until such a time when it was won by, the argument was won by the adherents of Lysenko and Maturin, who put forward this theory of Maturian inheritance. We don't need to go into that in detail here, but the point that I want to make is twofold. One, that what was actually being dealt with by the Lysenko school was not Darwinism, but the neo-Darwinism of Weizmann. Secondly, that those scientists who did adhere to the neo-Darwinism of Weizmann, and this is the lies bit, was certainly not sent to the Gulag, but carried on doing quite a lot of good work in various Soviet universities and academies. Some of them didn't get the influence, no longer had the influence that they had before, and those who supported Lysenko got into more influential posts. There was no question of people being sent to the gulags for being Darwinian. The question of the struggle for existence, the question of survival of the fittest, I think we need to look at it very carefully, because it's been used very much in terms of the idea of competition between individuals, and that idea has been imported into human society. And capitalism said, well, yeah, great, look, survival of the fittest, competition between individuals, it's all a struggle for existence. Look at capitalism, isn't that just what it is? This is just natural, this is the way of things, this is the order of things. But in fact, most of the struggle for existence is not between individuals of a particular species, it's between the individuals in a species and other types of animals and plants, their surroundings, their physical surroundings and so on. So the struggle for existence is one which is quite wrong when it's narrowed down to the idea of competition between individuals. Rather, it's easily confused, because one of the things that Darwin noted right at the outset was that most organisms produce a heck of a lot of germs, of germ cells, of new cells, either eggs or seeds or young or whatever. And in general, not very many of them, only a small proportion of them survive to become adult and to mate. And that the basis in which the environment was able to select was that it had a very fertile ground for selecting those which were the best. But this was not just a matter of competition between those individuals, it was a matter of those individuals' competition to survive in the totality of the world in which they found themselves and in which they were trying to survive.